Initially, when I started this video for Alone in the Dark, the video was titled In Defense of Alone in the Dark. But as I sat there thinking about this game, I was at a loss. I stared blankly at the pros and cons list I was about to begin for this game, and quickly the list filled up, but only in the cons section. I couldn't think of any positives. All I could think about is the first con I wrote down. The first thing that came to my little brain when I sat down was, Alone in the Dark isn't a survival horror game. The original Alone in the Dark was released in 1992 and birthed an entire new genre of video game. Surprisingly enough, it wasn't actually Resident Evil that created the survival horror genre, as you'd expect, as that didn't release until 1996. I never personally played the original game, but from the looks of it, Capcom straight up ripped off what was going on in that game to a T, as it has you trapped in a mansion fighting supernatural creatures that look very similar to zombies, and you're trying to escape, which, if anyone has ever played the original RE, that will be ringing some bells. Mind you, this isn't a problem. I adore the original RE, and the game is obviously very different to Alone in the Dark, just using a similar idea and turning it into its own thing. But what does this have to do with Alone in the Dark 2024, you might ask? Well, everything. The devs knew no matter what they produced, it was most likely going to be called a Resident Evil clone. Ironic given the circumstances, but sadly, it's the truth. So they created a game that couldn't possibly be called a RE clone, because the only thing remotely similar to RE was that it took place in a mansion, and it was under the survival horror genre. But what they didn't foresee in the story they were choosing to tell is it quite literally, fundamentally, pushed back against the survival horror genre the original game created in the first place. On one side of the coin, we have the mansion, a very well-constructed playground for us to explore and uncover its secrets. Very reminiscent of Spencer's mansion, with lots of puzzles and keys. Oh, so many keys. Just to open one specific door, which you think about for 5 seconds is so stupid. Like, why do we have a first floor hallway key and a second floor hallway key? Shouldn't they just be the same key? And why is there even a key for a door to access a hallway? In fact, why is there even a door to even access a hallway? It just should be an open hallway. Why all the extra steps? This is beside the point. We had this very nice mansion to explore, with all the fundamentals of a good survival horror game, right? No, we don't. Because on the other side of the coin, we have the dream world, where the game removes all puzzles essentially, and this is where the combat takes place. So we separated the game into one half puzzles, where we know nothing dangerous can ever happen to us unless we get dragged into the dream world in some rare instances. And then the dream world, where it turns into more of a walking simulator with monsters trying to delete us. Story-wise, I understand why this happened, but because of this, you have turned your game into a half puzzle, half action adventure game. Because of the story you have chosen to tell, you have failed to be a survival horror game. Now, we do have some really fun areas to explore in the dream world that I do think are genuinely good and resemble some slight moments of survival horror. We get to explore a temple in Egypt and do a big light puzzle to open up the crypt and get a key item, all whilst bats are trying to delete us. This is a very unique area, and I don't think any other survival horror game has taken us to an environment like this, but these moments are so rare. And then I think about the game for 2 more seconds, and I think about the only 2 bosses we have in the game, and both of them give us infinite ammo, and I'm immediately disappointed again, because this quite literally means ammo economy in this game means nothing. Remember how you always save all your ammo the first time in RE, scared for that next boss fight? Imagine if you just got to the boss and the game just gave you infinite ammo. That is what this game does. Imagine if you were like playing through RE7, you got to the Marguerite boss fight, and it just gave you infinite ammo. Like, that would be so stupid, wouldn't it? Well, that's what this game does. That is what this game does. Are you serious? So, they sacrificed the fundamental mechanics of a survival horror game to tell their story. So it must be good, right? No, the story isn't very good. There are huge plot holes that you have to gloss over to even have a concise story. David Harbour and Joni Comer, I'm sorry if I butchered your name, Jodie, I don't know how to say your last name, I'm so sorry, are massively underutilized, barely being able to show any character or emotion in their performances, sounding essentially asleep in most of the dialogue. The only time these characters get any time to shine is in the secret ending cutscenes, which then shows you what these actors could have done if the story had any meat on its bones.
You'll have to run!
Alone in the Dark got so lost in itself. It wanted to be something it couldn't be. The story and the fundamentals of a survival horror game are constantly at odds with each other. I don't think it was always this way. Clearly this game was rushed out the door by someone. The gameplay is stiff, the melee doesn't even feel finished, it's incredibly short, it lacks enemy variety and underutilizes the enemies it has. Clearly this guy was meant to be a boss at one stage instead of being in just one cutscene. Alone in the Dark is a very flawed game. But if you love survival horror games like me, I think you will still find something to love here. On paper, this game sounds terrible, and all my points still stand, but I still like this game for what it was. Yeah, that's it. That's all from me. Have a great rest of your day, morning, afternoon, night. Whatever it is, just have a good time, yeah? Stay weary, everyone. See ya.